You know this story better than almost any other. A girl loses her mother. Her father remarries. Her stepmother and stepsisters are cruel. She's made to sleep in the ashes by the fireplace. She works while they rest, begs while they receive. Then one night, a fairy godmother, a pumpkin carriage, a gown that turns heads, a prince who can't stop looking at her. She runs at midnight, loses a glass slipper on the palace steps, and the prince spends the next morning searching the kingdom for the foot that fits. It does. They marry, happily ever after. It's the most recognizable story arc in Western literature. The underdog who rises, the good person who is rewarded, the wicked who get nothing. Now let me tell you what actually happens in the 1812 version by the Brothers Grimm. There is no fairy godmother. There is no pumpkin. There is no glass slipper. There is no magical midnight curfew. What there is, a dying mother who speaks to her daughter from beyond the grave through the branches of a tree she asked to be planted over her body. A girl who prays at that grave 3 times a day, every single day, for years. 2 stepsisters who cut off pieces of their own feet. One her big toe, one a slice of her heel, in order to force their feet into a golden shoe. And the blood that fills that shoe on the road, singing out their deception to the prince who cannot see what the birds can. And the ending. Disney's Cinderella ends with a wedding and everyone forgiving everyone. The Brothers Grimm end with 2 women standing in a church, blinded for life, while white birds sit on their shoulders and the wedding continues around them. This is Aschenputtel. This is the real Cinderella. Before we get into the story, I want to give you something that changes how you hear every detail that follows. Cinderella is one of the oldest stories in recorded human history. One scholar tracked down 345 separate versions of the tale across different cultures and centuries. 345. A Chinese version, Yi Xian, dates to the 9th century. A Greek story with a similar structure was recorded in the 1st century. Traces of the same pattern appear in Egyptian oral tradition even earlier. As a species, we have been telling this story for over 1,000 years. The question worth asking is, why? What is it about this particular pattern? Good girl, cruel treatment, magical intervention, rightful recognition, that human beings across completely separate cultures kept returning to? The answer, most scholars agree, is that the Cinderella story is not really about romance. It is about the recognition of hidden worth. It is about a social order that has been corrupted, where the wrong people have power and the right person has been pushed to the margins, being corrected. In almost every version, across every culture, the central tension is not, will she get the prince? It is, will the truth about who she is finally be seen? The first written Western version came from the Italian writer Giambattista Basile in 1634, nearly 2 centuries before the Grimms. His version is called La Gatta Cenerentola, the Cat Cinderella. It is considerably more violent than anything the Grimms wrote, involving a girl who conspires in the murder of her own governess to get a stepmother she prefers, only to find the new stepmother worse than anything she could have imagined. Basile's Cinderella is not a passive victim. She makes terrible choices and lives with the consequences. Charles Perrault published his version in 1697, the one that gave us the fairy godmother, the pumpkin carriage, and the glass slipper. Perrault invented those elements. None of them existed in the story before him. He was writing for the French court, and he needed the magic to be elegant and the girl to be entirely passive, a perfect vessel for royal fantasy. The Brothers Grimm published their version, Aschenputtel, in 1812. They collected it from German oral tradition, and it is darker, stranger, and more morally direct than either Basile or Perrault. Disney based their 1950 film almost entirely on Perrault. The Grimm version, the one with the grave tree and the bleeding shoes and the blinded women, was set aside, and it has largely stayed set aside ever since. Tonight we read the version that was set aside. The story begins with a death. A wealthy man's wife falls gravely ill. She knows she is dying. She calls her only daughter to her bedside, a girl whose name we are never given in the text, though history would come to call her Cinderella, and she tells her something. "Dear child," she says, "remain pious and good. God will protect you." and I will look down from heaven and always be near you." Then she closes her eyes and dies. This opening, a dying mother speaking directly to her daughter, is the moral and emotional core of everything that follows. The entire story is built on this promise, that goodness will be seen, that the dead do not leave us entirely, and that the bond between a mother and daughter cannot be broken even by death. Disney's Cinderella opens with the mother already long dead, reduced to a brief mention in the narration. We never hear her voice. We never know what she said. In the Grimm version, her voice is the first thing we hear, and it echoes through every scene that follows. The girl goes out to her mother's grave every day and weeps. Every single day. The text is specific about this. She goes in winter when the ground is frozen. She goes in summer in the heat. She goes 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, for an entire year before anything changes. This detail is one of the most important in the entire story, and it is one of the first things Disney removes. In the Grimm version, the girl's power does not come from a fairy godmother who appears unbidden. It comes from her own grief, sustained and faithful over a long period of time. She earns the magic. The magic is a response to something real, to a year of tears watering a hazel twig planted in the cold earth over her mother's body. That twig, by the way, is the first gift her father gives her after the death. He is going on a business trip. He asks his daughters what they would like brought back. The stepsisters ask for beautiful dresses, for pearls, for jewels. Aschenputtel asks only for the first branch that brushes against his hat on the road home. He returns with silks and jewels for her stepsisters, and a small hazel twig for her. She plants it on her mother's grave. She waters it with her tears. It grows into a tree. Before we continue, I want to pause on a detail that is almost always skipped in retellings of this story, but which changes the entire emotional landscape of what follows. Aschenputtel's father is alive. In Disney's version, he dies early in the story, leaving Cinderella entirely at the mercy of her stepmother. His death makes the stepmother's cruelty structurally inevitable. There is no one to appeal to, no one who should have protected her. In the Grimm original, the father is present throughout. He lives in the same house. He watches his daughter be stripped of her clothes, given rags to wear, banished to sleep in the ashes by the fireplace. And he does nothing. Worse than that, near the end of the story, when the prince comes to the house searching for the woman whose foot fits the golden slipper, the father is asked directly whether there are any other women in the house. His response is telling. "There is only," he says, "a dirty little Cinderella from my first wife. She cannot possibly be the bride." He does not call her his daughter. He calls her a leftover from a previous marriage, something peripheral, something not quite his. He denies her to the prince's face. The father's complicity is one of the most uncomfortable elements in the original story, and it is almost universally softened or removed in every adaptation. Disney removes it entirely by killing him. But the Grimm version is clear. The cruelty Aschenputtel suffers is not just the stepmother's doing. Her own father sees it and chooses not to intervene. He has transferred his love, or his attention, or his will to his new family, and he has left his daughter behind. The story, in part, is about surviving that abandonment. The stepmother arrives with 2 daughters. They are, the text tells us, beautiful in face and fair in skin. Their hearts, however, are described as black and ugly. They take Aschenputtel's fine clothes and put her in an old gray smock. They put wooden shoes on her feet. They mock her. They drive her into the kitchen and make her work from morning until night, carrying water, lighting fires, cooking meals, washing floors. When she is too tired to work anymore, she has no bed to go to. She sleeps in the ashes by the hearth. That is where the name comes from. Aschenputtel, ash girl, ash fool, the girl who sleeps in the cinders. And the stepmother, not satisfied with the labor she extracts, adds humiliation. She throws a dish of lentils into the ashes and tells Aschenputtel that if she can pick every lentil out of the cinders and put them back in the dish, in 2 hours, she may go to the festival at the king's palace. It is an impossible task, designed to fail. Aschenputtel goes to the back door and calls into the garden. And the birds come. First the two white doves from the hazel tree, then the turtle doves. Then, the text says, all the birds beneath the sky, chirping and fluttering, filling the kitchen. They alight among the ashes. They pick and peck, sorting the good lentils from the ash, filling the dish. In less than an hour, every lentil has been retrieved. Aschenputtel brings the dish to her stepmother, full and clean. The stepmother looks at it. Then she looks at her. Then she takes the dish, tips it back into the ashes, and tells Aschenputtel she still cannot go. Because she has nothing to wear. Because she cannot dance. Because she would put them to shame. And she leaves for the festival with her daughters. Aschenputtel waits until the house is empty. Then she goes to the garden, to the grave, to the hazel tree that has grown from the twig she planted with her tears. She stands beneath its branches and she speaks. Shake and quiver, little tree. Throw gold and silver down to me. And the white bird in the branches throws down a dress, gold and silver, and slippers embroidered with silk and silver. She puts them on and she walks to the festival. This happens 3 times, 3 nights. 3 dresses, each more magnificent than the last. On the 3rd night, the dress is so brilliant that everyone at the festival stops and stares. The king's son takes her hand immediately and dances with no one else all evening. When others approach, he tells them, she is my partner. And her stepsisters are there. Her stepmother is there. They see the most beautiful woman in the room. They do not recognize her. They never once think, that might be Aschenputtel, because they have looked at her for years and never actually seen her. This is the moment where the Grimm story most clearly reveals its central argument. The people who have been looking at Aschenputtel every day, her stepmother, her stepsisters, even her father, have never truly seen her. They have only seen the ash and the rags and the servitude. When she appears in her true form, they don't connect it to the girl they know, because they never knew her. The magic of the tree does not transform her. It reveals her. It gives the world eyes to see what was always there. Each night, the prince tries to walk her home. He wants to know who she is, where she lives, who her family is. And each night she escapes him. The first night, she runs and hides in the pigeon house on her father's property. The prince tells her father a strange girl has jumped into the pigeon house. Her father, not recognizing his own daughter, calls for an axe. He chops the pigeon house apart himself. She is already gone, having slipped out the back, returned her dress to the bird at the grave, and settled herself back in the ashes in her gray smock before anyone enters the kitchen. The second night, she climbs a pear tree on the estate. The prince tells the father. The father gets an axe. He chops down the pear tree. She is already gone. Think about this for a moment. This father is out in his yard at night, chopping down trees and pigeon houses at a prince's request, trying to find a girl he cannot identify. A girl who is, in fact, his own daughter, returning from a royal festival in a gold dress. He does not recognize her. He does not even suspect her. He has so completely stopped seeing her that she is invisible to him even in the places she has always lived. The third night, the prince is prepared. He has had the entire palace staircase coated in pitch, a thick, dark tar, so that anyone who runs will leave something behind. Aschenputtel runs anyway. One golden slipper sticks in the pitch and stays. She makes it home. She returns to the ashes. The slipper is gone. The prince holds it up and announces, he will marry the woman whose foot fits this shoe. The prince goes from house to house. Every girl in the kingdom tries the slipper. None of them fit. He arrives at Aschenputtel's house. The stepmother knows what this visit means. She brings her eldest daughter into the bedroom and hands her a knife. Cut off your toe, she says. When you are queen, you will not need to walk. The girl cuts off her toe. She forces her foot into the golden slipper. She walks out to the prince. The slipper fits. He puts her on his horse and rides toward the palace to announce his bride. They pass the hazel tree at the grave. The two white doves in the branches begin to sing. Turn and look. Turn and look. There is blood in the shoe. The shoe is too tight. The true bride is still at home. The prince looks down. The slipper is filling with blood. He turns his horse around and takes the girl back. The stepmother sends for the second daughter. She hands her the knife. Cut off part of your heel. When you are queen, you will not need to walk. The second girl cuts a slice from her heel. She forces her foot into the slipper. She walks out to the prince. It fits. He puts her on his horse. They ride. They pass the hazel tree. Turn and look. Turn and look. There is blood in the shoe. The shoe is too tight. The true bride is still at home. The prince looks down. The same slow red. He turns back again. He asks the father if there is anyone else. The father says there is only a dirty little kitchen girl, not his daughter, he implies, just a remnant. Who could not possibly be the bride? The prince asks to see her. Aschenputtel washes her face and hands and comes out from the kitchen. She sits down. She puts her foot in the slipper. It slides on perfectly. She stands. The prince looks at her face. He recognizes the beautiful stranger from 3 nights at the festival. She is the one. He puts her on his horse. They ride past the hazel tree. The 2 white doves fly down from the branches and settle on her shoulders, one on the left, one on the right, and stay there. The wedding is announced. The kingdom is invited, and the 2 stepsisters come. They come because they want to be close to the new princess, their former servant. They want whatever reflected glory and royal access they can extract from her good fortune. They position themselves as her bridesmaids. They stand beside her as she walks into the church. The 2 white doves are still on her shoulders. As the wedding party enters the church, Aschenputtel and the prince in the center, the eldest stepsister at her right, the youngest at her left, the doves lean forward and peck out one eye from each sister. Both women are now blind in one eye, standing in a church at a royal wedding, blood on their faces. And they stay. They don't leave. They are still trying to gain something from this moment. They rearrange themselves as the couple exits the church, the eldest now at the left, the youngest at the right. The doves lean forward again and peck out the remaining eye from each sister. The text ends there. 2 women, permanently blinded, standing in the light outside a church. The wedding continues. The story ends. That is the real ending of Cinderella. I want to spend some time on what this story is doing, because I think Aschenputtel is more sophisticated than it's usually given credit for. The obvious reading is, good is rewarded, evil is punished. Aschenputtel suffers, keeps faith, gets the prince, wins. The stepsisters lie and cheat and are blinded for it. Simple moral arithmetic. But there's something more complex happening under that surface. Start with the magic. Aschenputtel does not receive help from a neutral outside source, a fairy godmother who appears because the story requires one. She receives help from her mother. The tree grows from the grave. The bird in the tree is, in every symbolic reading of this story, her mother's spirit, continuing to act in the world through the daughter's grief and faithfulness. The magic in this story is earned through relationship, through daily devotion to a person who is gone. The stepsisters get dresses from their father's shopping trip. Aschenputtel gets magic from her tears. Then there's the father. His presence in the story, and his failure, is not accidental. He is the figure who should have protected her and did not. He is the person with the actual power to change her circumstances, and he chooses, repeatedly, to look away. When the prince comes searching, the father's immediate instinct is to dismiss his own daughter, to make her invisible in front of the person who has come specifically to find her. The Grimm story is, at its core, about being unseen. Aschenputtel is surrounded by people who look at her without seeing her. Her stepmother sees a servant. Her stepsisters see competition they've already defeated. Her father sees an inconvenient reminder of a previous life. The prince, when he finally sees her, sees only the golden dress. He cannot find her 3 nights in a row. Even at the end, he requires the birds to confirm what his own eyes should have told him, that the blood in the shoe means something is wrong. The birds are the only ones in this story who see clearly. They sort the lentils from the ash when no human would. They sing out the truth about the blood in the shoe when the prince cannot see it himself. They deliver judgment at the wedding when human institutions, including the wedding itself, would have let the stepsisters stand unpunished at Aschenputtel's side. There is also something worth noting about the stepsisters' punishment specifically. They are not killed. They are not imprisoned. They are blinded. They will spend the rest of their lives unable to see, which is exactly the crime they committed. They looked at Aschenputtel for years and refused to see her. The punishment fits. And then there is the ending itself. Disney and Cinderella with everyone forgiving everyone. The stepmother and stepsisters presumably chastened but unpunished. The story resolving into warmth and reconciliation. The Grimm story ends with two women, bleeding, in a church, the sound of wedding bells overhead. The Brothers Grimm were not particularly interested in forgiveness. They were interested in consequence. In their world, the things you do to people have a weight, and that weight eventually comes due. Disney's Cinderella came out in 1950. It was a studio that had nearly gone bankrupt during World War II, and this film was a survival bet. It needed to perform. To make it perform, the studio needed it to be safe, warm, and broadly accessible to families. So they made changes, and the changes are instructive. The first and most significant, they killed the father. In Disney, he dies early, leaving Cinderella entirely without protection before the stepmother's cruelty even begins. This removes the most uncomfortable element of the Grimm story, the living father who watches his daughter be mistreated and says nothing. Disney's version keeps its adults morally clean. The stepmother is evil. Everyone else is either good or absent. The Grimm version is messier and more honest. The most damaging figure in Aschenputtel's life is not the stepmother she was given, but the father who had always been there and chose to stop seeing her. The second change, the fairy godmother. Perrault invented her in 1697, and Disney adopted her wholesale. She appears, unbidden, from nowhere, because Cinderella is kind and deserves help. The magic is granted, not earned. This is a fundamentally different argument about how the world works. In the Grimm version, the help Aschenputtel receives is a direct extension of her own sustained love and grief. She planted the tree. She watered it with tears. She returned to it every day for a year. The magic is the world responding to her devotion. In Disney, the magic is a reward delivered by a benevolent stranger who happened to be watching. Third, the glass slipper. Perrault invented this too. In the Grimm original, the slipper is gold. There are scholars who believe Perrault's glass slipper was actually a mistranslation. The original French word was verre, meaning fur, not verre, meaning glass. The glass slipper may have been an error that became permanent. Either way, Disney kept it because it's visually striking and because it's fragile and delicate in a way that suits the Disney Cinderella's general fragility. The golden slipper in the Grimm version has a different quality. It's precious and unbreakable, not delicate. It cannot be forced. And crucially, it cannot be made to fit through mutilation without the truth coming out. Fourth, the stepsisters' punishment. In Disney, there is no punishment. The stepsisters are humiliated when the slipper doesn't fit, but they are not harmed, not permanently marked. In the Grimm version, they are blinded at the wedding. The scene is brief and matter of fact. The Grimms describe it the way you describe weather. The birds pecked out an eye from each. They came back out of the church, and the birds pecked out the other eye. End of story. No dwelling on it. No drama. Just consequence, delivered calmly by nature itself. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly, Cinderella's agency. Disney's Cinderella is famous, or infamous, for her passivity. She is kind and she waits. She sings about her dreams. She is acted upon rather than acting. The Grimm Aschenputtel is not passive. She calls the birds. She negotiates with the magic. She evades the prince 3 separate times with considerable ingenuity, hiding in pigeon coops, climbing pear trees, escaping through the pitch that was supposed to trap her. She is not waiting to be saved. She is managing a situation while the world around her catches up to the truth. The cumulative effect of all these changes is a story that has been softened in every direction. The dangerous father becomes an absent one. The earned magic becomes a gift. The golden slipper becomes fragile glass. The permanent punishment becomes a momentary embarrassment. The active girl becomes a patient one. What remains is a lovely story about kindness and romance. What was lost was a story about grief, persistence, the failure of fathers, the clarity of birds, and a justice so precise it could distinguish between the true bride and the false one by the sound of blood in a shoe. These stories survived 1,000 years because people kept passing them on. If you want to help keep the real versions alive, like and subscribe. The next one is already coming.